see them almost equal, so where no one's going to have a huge advantage going into this in the mind games. And I think we're just about ready to start.
All right, guys, it's time for the winners bracket final. Best of 3 is for $9,000. Winner will go on to play in the grand final. The loser will have to face TSL Pulse. Let's jump in the game. This is IPL 5.
Welcome to IPL 5 Ohana.
In the top left half of the map, we have from Team Azubu, a personal sponsorship, but he's playing out of his mind this tournament. Give it up for
Azubu viOLet.
And in the bottom right half, already wishing good luck and have fun to his opponent, one of the best Zergs from Korea and extremely young, he is
FXO Leenock.
Both these guys phenomenal at English speaking abilities. If you ever have a chance to, just go ahead and say hi and try to hold a conversation. They're actually really good.
They are. Some of the best Koreans at speaking English at this tournament. Not obviously everywhere, right?
That's right. Chef, also one of the best English people. So you can also talk to him in English too if you want.
All right, so we don't see anything fishy coming out of either player. They both are going up, just continuing in drones. No pool at 10, even lower than that. It looks like Leenock wants to take his expansion first. viOLet's going to do the same thing. This is a little bit risky on this map, where a 10 pool would put either player ahead against this build, but neither player is doing it, so in this case it's what you want to do.
That's right. Ohana map where it's a little shorter rush distances compared to really big maps that we have in the map pool, you know, like Metropolis, for example, along with Abyssal City. But, you know, this is a great way to open up the series. We've been seeing lots of aggressive play from Leenock throughout the tournament, especially highlighted by Sheth and Icecast against Shigua, where he was just, you know, putting a lot of Ling aggression, Bane aggression, just straight up killing him. But that's the versatility of his play. He can do all those different kinds of style. Meanwhile, viOLet's more of the stable player. You know, he does like a few builds, but he does them incredibly well. He has a great meter transition. He can play the Roach game. And I'm really expecting to see just these two players see which of their styles can come out ahead.
Yeah, so we see so far both players taking the risky build or the greedy part of this build by getting an extractor up before the spawning pool, and in this case, viOLet even got his up earlier, so he's going to have a little bit of time where he can be more aggressive with his Zerglings, maybe even have a few Banelings out slightly earlier than Leenock.
Right, so we'll see how that pans out. Now, Sheth, I want to ask you, what kind of styles do you really like to see on Ohana, maybe from both of these players? Do you have a preferred way you like to play the map?
I do. On this map, the third base can be really easily connected to the natural through the rocks, but in ZvZ, and in most matchups, it's a little bit difficult for Zerg to kill those rocks. And because of that, Queens or any units has to kind of walk around the long way to get to that third base. So Mutas, off of Zergling Baneling, is very, very strong on this map, because even when Infestors pop out, they have to walk such a long way around an unsafe area, very likely, just on around that curve.
Yep, and that's, we'll definitely keep an eye out for that, especially, like you mentioned, the long distance from the natural to the third does get very annoying. As you can see in the bottom lower third, viOLet used to be on teams like MVP and Empire, which is why you might see him a lot with players like NMrUUG at the event. Still really good friends with them. And yeah, it's actually true. Him and Pol have incredible English-speaking abilities, and viOLet learned it on his own, as he's currently living in the US of A. Now, you know, we already see the beginning moldings of the game. We see both players getting a Baneling nest, but, you know, defensive Banelings is pretty powerful on Ohana. The ramp isn't as wide as a map like, say, in Tomb Valley, or, God forbid, some of the older maps that used to be in the circuits like Tal'Darim Malter. So not too much aggression really expected out of these players.
Indeed, viOLet getting that early Spine Crawler up, even though he had kind of the earlier timing with Vespian Gas. And Leenock now just throwing down an Evolution Chamber. That's helping him complete as well, helping him be a little bit more defensive as well, just in case any sort of Ling Bane comes his way.
Leenock coming off some pretty good finishes. You can see that he's a 2-time MLG champion. He also, just 1 year ago in GSL November, he was the runner-up to Jokji, where it was a very famous finals over there in Korea. And Leenock still is, he's still finding his path, but I mean, most people can argue that when he's playing at his best, he's definitely top 3 Zerg in the world. Wouldn't you agree, Chef?
Yep, he does.
Zerg's getting nice scout. Actually, is viOLet able to get in and see almost everything and see the drone saturation and pretty much know that he's doing the same exact thing. Now he is going for lair and quad gassing at the same time, Shet. And no Roach Warren or Evo Chamber, or actually the Evo Chamber just started, but this looks like a heavy indication for mutas.
Yep, viOLet's very, very good in ZvZ with his muta control, with all sort of Zergling Baneling style, and he plays it very consistently. So I kind of get the feeling that all 3 games we're going to see basically the same build, maybe a different early game variation of it, but the same idea of getting to the point where he has both bases very well saturated, and then proceeds just to make Zerglings, Banelings try and take his third a little bit earlier and try and deny Leenock's third with both the mutas and the Zergling Baneling.
Yeah, so then what do you really need to do to defend against mutas really well? We see players go for like a fast infestation bit, but then yesterday I was casting some games and I saw Sleep try to go for like a Hydralisk and just rely on queens while being able to go for timings. How do you usually try to fare against that kind of harassment, Chef?
Alright, well, it has a lot to do with the Spore timing, if he can get up at the expansion, the queen there, and then of course the timing on the infestors coming up behind it.
All right, well, we'll see whether or not Leenock can get ready for that. Actually, no, he's going for a quick infestation pit instead, so don't have to worry about that per se. Meanwhile, Leenock going for more of the defensive, going for the carapace upgrade, which we've been seeing more common nowadays in ZvZ. So now that we have the opening builds really panned out, it seems like, very commonly we see Zergs try to time each other's thirds, but who do you think would have the edge? Do you think this attack from Leenock would be that successful?
Alright, in this case, Leenock just needs to wait for that +1, and then he can do a ton of damage. The Zerglings from viOLet aren't going to have that upgrade, and the Banelings aren't going to be able to one-shot Leenock's Zerglings anymore because of that carapace upgrade.
And Leenock trying to move in. 1 Baneling does drop, 2 Banelings drop, and Leenock doesn't really do that much damage at all. viOLet's been able to micro this very well, and there's not that many Zerglings in follow-up for Leenock at all. He's still making some in production, but overall very nicely done from viOLet to zone off the damage.
Very true. viOLet here managing to hold so far, but now the Roaches are coming. This adds a whole new level where the Banelings are going to have to be focused down so nicely by Leenock.
Not really able to do much. The Zerglings are preventing the surround as they're able to do a lot. viOLet still in the middle of researching his pathogen glands. He's been rushing for that tech as fast as he can. The surround on the Roaches, this is what viOLet really needed, but at the same time, Leenock is still streaming some units, and he really wants to pressure this third. It's almost about to drop here. And he does get it, an awesome form of aggression from Leenock.
Yeah. viOLet being forced even to make some Roaches here. Maybe not what he wants to be doing here. Wants to be making these infestors. Leenock just keep putting on the pressure. Just doesn't stop. Man,
the Roaches are putting lots of damage onto the Spine Crawler, and viOLet, he's still waiting for some of his infestors and Roaches to pop out, but these Roaches can do still a pretty good amount of damage. The Queen drops, and that's significant as well, halting a lot of his larva cycles.
Yeah, and Leenock here going to feel the pressure on the drones. His +1 carapace is really allowing him to kind of win these fights very cost effectively.
Yeah, and the third from Leenock is getting saturated. Leenock playing this very well. His aggressive style is doing wonders for here in the mid game. viOLet trying to burrow those infestors, doesn't want them to get sniped at all. And the best part is that Leenock is able to get in and get scouting, see everything, and see the timings while being able to have a third up pretty safely.
Yep, very, very nice build order here from Leenock. viOLet tried his best, couldn't quite defend his third, and then even just the natural, having that sort of pressure, he's going to try and move out here. His third is so much later compared to Leenock. He needs this attack to do a lot of damage. He might try and run the infestors into the main, and Leenock doesn't have an overseer to prevent it, so that could be a really huge deal.
Ooh, we saw a lot of this yesterday night at the GSL finals where Sniper was able to make some pretty nice comebacks with burrowed infestors, but he unburrows and he's trying to summon them back home. I guess he saw the threat coming. Oh, nope, just kidding. Those infestors were probably using Apple Maps.
A lot of times when you have a whole bunch of infestors.
I think people like that. Leenock is going to pressure it again at this third, but at the same time, viOLet's also dropping infested Terrans. And this is really good, forcing cancels non-stop. This is just putting viOLet further behind, but tactics like the Infestor usage is what really tries to swing games.
Very true. Leenock is managing to put some pressure here on the front of viOLet. It's going to be very difficult for him to hold, but can he do it?
I mean, he's got roach pressure and Infested Terrans. That's a nice spot from Leenock, getting sight from the Overseer. And Leenock's pressuring in here, and viOLet doesn't have that many roaches. He only got 4. He's trying to make a lot of them hatch, but some of them are only hatching at the natural, while the reinforcements are coming in from the main. And viOLet's trying to push back. Leenock's still coming with more reinforcements. Now, keep in mind, Leenock's had a long time to have a good amount of reinforcements and economic advantage to push this. And Leenock's he still has a pretty good supply lead here, Chef.
Yeah, he's just rallying roaches forward, keeps the pressure on, and again, he has 1-1 upgrades here to viOLet's 0-1. The +2 upgrade didn't quite finish, and Leenock just a master at putting pressure on at all points in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he's able to put on the pressure while being able to gain advantage. His third is going up once again, and if Leenock can do some critical damage, there's no way for viOLet to really climb back into this game because he's been losing his Infestors. There's no ability to harass back at the third anymore. More Infested Terrans are popping up, and the Roaches are not stopping at all, Shed. And viOLet is losing almost all of his ability to hold. Even the drones are being pulled, and that is the final signals of the last moments in this game. Leenock off to a great start.
Yep, viOLet managing to hold on a little bit longer. He's trying to use the ramp, trying to position his roaches a little bit better than Leenock here, but it's going to be a hard uphill fight for him. His +2 does finish, so if he can hold here, well, and in the same vein, Leenock also finished his +2. This is just a very, very tough situation to be in.
Yeah, I mean, even if viOLet stabilizes, he's taking brutal amounts of damage, and I mean, Leenock, he's still streaming units here and there to keep pressuring, but it's just a small pack of roaches. GG! Leenock takes game number 1 in this best of 3 series. Leenock looking so sharp in game number 1. viOLet, what do you think he could have done better there, Chef?
Well, in that situation, if he'd made a few roaches to help defend his third, if he saw that Leenock is putting a lot of pressure on, he is going to get some early carapace upgrades. That's kind of the hard decision to know if he is or if he isn't. And either way, he just had to defend that third with roaches. Couldn't go straight into Infestors, which is what he tried to do. They just weren't very helpful.
Right, so well, hopefully viOLet can fix that. Guys, we're going to take a quick break. We'll get ready for game number 2 between viOLet and Leenock. The winner advances to the grand finals of IPL 5. We'll see what happens in game number 2 in just a sec.